Welcome to this episode of our program Arab Affairs. Today we will be discussing one of the most important issues or points that are supposed to be tackled, particularly at this stage. Today we will be speaking about terrorism. Now, terrorism has become a real global phenomenon. It is excessively phenomenon that is involving a multitude of motives, strategies, and also means. The difference between terrorism as we used to know and terrorism as we know it today is that it's very much reliant on hatred and many other tools plus technology, the use of technology. Today we will be discussing the term terrorism in its broader scope, meaning terrorism worldwide, terrorism regionally, but the most important that we are going to focus on terrorism in the Middle East. Before we start discussing our episode today, let's first have a quick look on the Arab news that took place during this week, and we'll come back for discussion.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received the visiting Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed ibn Zayed Al Nahyan in Cairo on Thursday. During their meeting, President el-Sisi hailed the distinguished relations between the two countries, saying that they represent an example of strategic bilateral cooperation. The president also stressed the significance of enhancing bilateral cooperation in all fields. The head of state reiterated that the current stage that the region is passing through needs enhanced Arab cooperation among countries to face the challenges. For his part, Sheikh Mohammed ibn Zayed stressed that his country's keenness to enhance coordination and consultation with Egypt on various issues of mutual concern. Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Ghait named the Tunisian ambassador Salah ad-Din al-Gammali as a special envoy to Libya. The new envoy to Libya was announced in an extraordinary meeting for the Arab League member states. Arab League representatives expressed their hope that the new envoy would continue to follow up on events in Libya and build relations with the key political players there, as well as international groups with interest in Libya's development. The members also hope that this decision could help find a solution to the Libyan crisis as soon as possible. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said that he knew who killed Yasser Arafat as he marked the 12th anniversary of the former leader's death, but stopped short from giving a name. Speaking in front of thousands, Abbas said that he knew who killed Arafat, but his testimony alone was not enough. As the battle for the Palestinian statehood consumed Yasser Arafat's life, a new museum in his name puts the nature of that fight front and center, the gun on his desk, the assault rifle in the corner, the pistol at his side. 12 years after his death in Paris at the age of 75, Yasser Arafat Museum opened its doors in Ramallah, attempting to flesh out some of the facts behind a figure who remains something in an enigma. A Syrian Kurdish-led force fighting the Daesh terrorists north of the country is on the verge of surrounding a wide area north of the group's stronghold of Al-Raqqa. The spokesman of Syria Democratic Forces said that its fighters were advancing on two fronts north of Al-Raqqa from Ain Isa and Suluk north of Al-Raqqa. The Syria Democratic Forces, which includes Kurdish, Arab, Syrian and Turkmen fighters, said they have committed 30,000 fighters to the offensive, aiming to eventual recapture of the city. The spokesman said that once the forces coming from two directions meet north of the city, they will surround 550 square kilometers from territory controlled by the terrorists.
Right, welcome back. And as we're speaking about terrorism, the Middle East and North Africa remain a particular area and a theatrical platform for terrorism to take place. If we speak about the Middle East, then we have to really discuss serious differences between different countries. we will be doing that, and we will be discussing the phenomenon of the terrorism globally, but mainly regionally. But before we proceed on, let's first have this quick look on the reports, the Middle East and terrorism in the Middle East, and we'll come back for discussion.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi hailed efforts exerted by the armed forces and security forces in combating terrorism all over the country and in protecting the borders. This came during his meeting with the Ministers of Defense, Interior and Army Intelligence Chief, as well as the Armed Forces Chief of Operations. During the meeting, the President reviewed the security situation in the country. President el-Sisi also reviewed the developments and measures taken by the armed forces within the retribution of the Martyrs' Right operations in Sinai. He gave his directives to exert utmost efforts and be alert to protect the country and people. The head of state also gave his instructions to give the utmost care for the residents of Sinai within the framework of efforts underway to implement the developmental projects in the peninsula. As part of a military manhunt for terrorists in Sinai, law enforcement agencies raided the terrorist hotbeds across different villages in Al Arish, Sheikh Zuwayed and Rafah towns. The Right of the Martyr operation so far left 9 Takfiri elements killed, 40 explosive devices and vehicles, in addition to 43 terrorist strongholds destroyed. In another incident, Egypt said that police had uncovered a stash of weapons that supporters of the terrorist Brotherhood group were plotting to use ahead of planned protests against economic conditions. The Interior Ministry said that it confiscated a cache of arms and ammunition hidden in a graveyard and house in Fayoum province southwest of Cairo. It also said that it raided 5 bomb factories around the country on Wednesday, accusing a militant group of coordinating with the Brotherhood to attack police checkpoints on the eve of the demonstrations.
Right, welcome back. And as we speak about terrorism, then we have to really discuss terrorism as it occurs. Now, if we speak about terrorism, we have to say that terrorism has become a real global phenomenon, a real threat to the whole world. Terrorism mostly has no religion, no creed, no ethnicity. Now, we speak about absolute hatred. If we want to discuss terrorism on the international arena, then we have to speak about the global threat. The global threat where we have seen just in 2016 some of the areas that were much affected. If we speak about the Brussels attack, before that, I guess that we will have to say that, yes, there is this international threat, there is the regional one, but we'll get to the international one before going to the regional one. So internationally, if we can remember throughout this year, this attack that occurred in Brussels, in which more than 100 people died. There, if we go then to Paris, before, of course, Paris before Nice, and Paris, this multiple attacks that occurred in Paris, in the music venue and in the stadium, and then in many bars, and then Nice, where this terrorist started shooting at people while they were celebrating the Bastille Day. That has already killed multiple of people. He did not just rush into the people with his vehicle, but just start shooting everywhere. US Orlando, where an Afghani person just went inside and started shooting. All this, what we call terrorism. And all this are all attacks that are disguised under the name of religion, where it has nothing to do with it or whatsoever. If we move on to the regional part of it, and we have to speak about areas where terrorism or started to appear. We are speaking here about the North African areas and, of course, Asia or the Arab or the Middle East part, the Arab part. The whole issue started here in Iraq, or what we are speaking about is nowadays terrorism, because of course terrorism has started years and years before. It was even invented, let's say, starting the Cold War. But the recent one we are speaking about started here in Iraq, where Daesh was created, and then moved to Syria. After this, it has moved to other areas of the Arab world, particularly in the North African, and now it has to do with Libya, and that is a grave threat to countries around. So we're speaking about threats that are occurring in several areas affecting others. So if we have to speak about this regional threat, then we have to divide it into three particular areas. We have to speak about regional terrorism in turbulent areas where we can find the situation is very unstable, filled with wars in Iraq, in Syria, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, and we are speaking about a number of names, let's say Daesh, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Shabab, Aqim, Aqab, whatever. They are all names to one face of the coin, which is terrorism. Then we move to stable countries hit by terrorism, and we're speaking about stable countries that are still standing on their feet, but they are very much vulnerable to terrorist attacks. And those, we're speaking about Egypt, of course, our country, our beloved countries, Tunisia, which has been hit a number of times throughout the past several years, particularly after the so-called Arab Spring. Saudi Arabia, which has been vulnerable to attacks several times, the latest of which has occurred during Hajj or the pilgrimage times, and of course many of the explosions that took place and had hit several of the Shiite mosques. If we move on from the turbulent areas to the stable countries hit by terrorism, then the most affected countries, and we can still say that there are countries that are not now vulnerable to attacks, but rather they are very much vulnerable to or affected by what is going on or what is going on around this area. If we speak about Algeria, and we all know that Algeria is a very important partner, regional partner in the fight against terrorism. Why? Because Algeria has seen the ugliest face of this terrorism, particularly at the end of the 80s and the beginning of 90s. Sudan, it is very much really affected because Sudan is the southern neighbor of Egypt. Of course, it has Libya in its western or northwestern side. It has Somalia, it has Djibouti, and of course the turbulent area in Africa already affecting its stability, plus its internal affairs. We move on to Lebanon, and Lebanon is very much affected of what's going on, particularly in Syria, which reflects directly on it. Thank God that President Michel Aoun was elected, because this presidential vacuum was creating more and more turbulence in Lebanon, making it very much more affected by the situation in Syria. Kuwait, which has seen several attacks, particularly on the Shiite mosques, several times. Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates are both partners in the very famous anti-terror intelligence organization that includes several countries, and I guess Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Saudi Arabia are all part, and of course Algeria, are all part of this important organization. Today we will be speaking about why terrorism, why this area, why we are the much affected region by this phenomenon, this black phenomenon that is threatening not just us, but even for those who created it. Anyway, before we continue on with our discussion, let's first go on to the some of the economic news in the region, and we'll come back for discussion. Oil Ministry spokesman Hamdi Abdelaziz said Saudi Arabia's Aramco, the world's largest oil company, stopped sending the fuel shipment to Egypt without giving a specific timetable or reasons. Saudi Arabia agreed in April to provide Egypt with 700,000 tons of fuel monthly for 5 years on easy payment terms, but Egypt said last month that October's shipment has been halted. The Saudi government has not spoken about the matter, and Aramco did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Egypt stopped receiving its allocations in October. After the fuel shipments were halted, Egypt signed a memorandum of understanding to import oil from Iraq. Egypt's economic growth rate registered 4.3% of the gross domestic product, the GDP, in the fiscal year 2015-2016, down from 4.4% in the fiscal year before. The Ministry of Planning attributed the drop in the growth rate, which was below the government's target of 4.5 to 5%, to the decline in exports by 14.5%. However, the ministry said that the rate, which has been calculated according to the market's constant prices, was achieved amid unfavorable economic circumstances globally and locally. Egypt's annual headline inflation registered 14.6% in September, up from a inflation rate of 9.4% in the same month last year. The government targets an economic growth rate of 5.2% of GDP by the end of the current 2016-2017 fiscal year. The Central Bank of Egypt decided to liberalize the pound and raise key interest rates as part of a set of reforms aimed at alleviating a dollar shortage and stabilizing the country's fledgling economy. The Central Bank of Egypt said its decision to liberalize the exchange rate is part of a government reform program that aims at trimming the budget deficit and cutting public debt. It added in a statement on its official website that the new move is meant to eliminate trading the currency on the black market, boost the economy, and achieve higher growth rate. The new measures included raising key interest rates by 300 basis points. The overnight deposit rate, the overnight lending rate, and the rate of the CBE's main operation have been raised to 14.75%, 15.75%, and 15.25% respectively. The CBE is allowing local banks to move within a 10% margin above the above-mentioned exchange rate until the auction. The bank said there will be no limits on foreign currency deposits or withdrawal for both individuals and firms. However, it said a previous cap of $50,000 in cash deposit per month and $30,000 in withdrawals per day for importers of non-essential goods will remain in place. It said that no conditions will be imposed on the depositing of foreign currency, quashing reports in recent days that the clients were being asked to provide proof of the source of their foreign cash to their banks. Banks will be allowed to extend working hours until 9 p.m. as well as on weekends for foreign currency dealings and cash of expatriate remittances. Non-oil private sector growth in the Gulf's major economies eased in October on the back of subdued demand and declining new works. The weakening growth has taken job creation to new levels near stagnation in United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. In the United Arab Emirates, private sector lost further growth momentum for straight third month, with business conditions improving to the least extent in 6 months, according to a monthly survey by Emirates NBD Bank. The seasonally adjusted Emirates NBD United Arab Emirates Purchasing Manager Index, the PMI, dropped for the third month in a row during October to 53.3, down from 54.1 in the previous month. Business conditions in the kingdom's non-oil private sector improved at the weakest pace since August 2009, when the survey was launched. Both output and new orders rose more slowly, while jobs growth neared stagnation, with the rate of hiring easing to a 6-month low. Among those surveyed, 97% companies reported no change in employment levels since September. Those firms that took an extra staff did so in an effort to expand operating capacity. The seasonally adjusted Saudi PMI dropped to a survey record low of 53.2 in October from 55.3 in December. This evolution would be due to the amelioration of the agricultural value added by 11.9% and the non-agricultural one by 3.5% in 2017, said the note issued by the Ministry of Economy and Finance of Morocco, which explains the increase of the agricultural value added by the improvement of cereal production by plus 109% in 2017. Concerning the secondary sector, it would progress in real terms by 3.9% in 2017, following a 3.5% in 2016 and 2.8% in the 2015. The extractive industry would post a rise in terms of their value added of 4% in 2017 after a 2.5% in 2016 and a drop of 5.1% in 2015. Internationally, for cost table on oil prices of $44 per barrel in 2016 and of $55 in 2017, a euro-dollar parity of 1.12 in 2016 and 2017, and an increase in foreign demand for Morocco by 4.3% in 2016 and 2017. Welcome back, and let's go right away with our discussion with General Hussein Abdelrazak, strategic expert, and thank you very much for joining us. We really don't want to take any more of the time. We need to hear your opinion, sir. Terrorism. Why terrorism? Why the Middle East? Why this area? And why the concentration? Why the disguise religion?
Thank you very much, and I'm really happy to be with you.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, when we are discussing these hot issues, which present a headache for all the countries in the Middle East and wide world. As we know, terrorism has become an international phenomenon, as you said in your presentation to this program. It has globally has become a phenomena that threatens the peaceful life, that threatens stability and the international interests of all the countries. And let's say from the beginning of this phenomenon has come out from the Brotherhood Association since it established in 1928. And they initiated this militia to be a means in their hand, you know, to affect or to eliminate anybody or any bloc, any the party tried to block their march to fulfill their goals. And send then, and out from the Brotherhood Association, all the terrorists, all the takfirists, all the jihadists, all the IS, for example, it had been born from this association, from these thoughts, from this way of thinking. So they tried hard, to make as much panic as they could, just to create chaos everywhere. So with that, they will create an atmosphere through which they can carry out their goals. Their goals is to dominate areas, and from this to establish what they call Islamic State, So we are in a really challenge with these elements a long time ago, not from the last few years, but a long time ago. We have witnessed a lot of operation from these terrorist elements in Egypt, in the region, and in the world. So I do believe that we are in a real conspiracy and using this element to fulfill specific goals, which aiming at all the pivot countries, Iraq, Syria, Egypt, Libya, because this is the core. And you're asking why this area? This is the core of the world. This is the pivot of the world. This is a very, very important, which connect north to south and east to west. So this is a very strategic area. If anybody can control it, he will control the entire world. So they saw that after 9/11, that all the terrorists came from this area, and they asked themselves why. And they came to the point that this area controlled by regimes, was not acceptable to their people. And they always in a challenge with their people. And from the people, those extremists came out, challenged the regime, challenging the authority, the state authority, and fighting the regime. So they use it as an element, to control this area. And let me say, in our assessment at the strategic, when we look at the strategy of the United States, for example, they have a main basics in the Middle East. The first one is to maintain the safety of Israel, and Israel to be always strong, stronger than all the countries around it, and not to allow to any power except the United States to be involved in this area, in particular the communists, and also to ensure that the petrol of this area go through the channel that governed and controlled by the United States, not by anybody else. So this a major factor make the United States and the Western Europe to give a lot of attention to this area. And also they try to color this area with their slogans about democracy and freedom and human rights. So they use these things to incite the people, to incite the people against their authority. But the main thing is to maintain the safety and security of Israel. And that's to happen all the big countries around Israel to be weak, to be more involved in their inner things, not to have the chance, not to have the time to use their capabilities, to be more strong, to be more capable, So it is a real conspiracy after 9/11, this area to be weak, this area to be divided, this area to be always busy with their inner things. So who can achieve this plan? Who can achieve this? They don't want to send fleets, they don't want to send destroyers, they don't want to send soldiers, you know, to do this action. So they used what we call it, this
religion.
The fourth generation of war.
The fourth.
No,
Yes.
you know, to be initiated in this by using these elements, which taking religion as a cover for their movement, for their action, and they, as you know, they
Incited sedition between sects of different countries, if not sects,
even
we're speaking about.
even inside
Yes.
the countries, yes.
Yes, if we're not speaking about sect, then tribes. If we're not speaking about tribes, then if they are multi nationals like ours, multiple communities like ours, Egyptian Muslims and Christians, then that would be another reason. Yes, but if I may ask or give just one comment, was that issue created or thought about after the 9/11 or from 1973, since we won the October War?
It was a major factor, of course. But when you design your policy in a specific area, you have to collect things together, you know. And of course, our victory in 1973, one major factor in their assessment, okay? And they said, no way Israel to be defeated anymore, you know.
I'm just making such a demand because, you know, General Abdelrazak, 9/11 was never really proved who was the real one behind such attacks, or there were some or many reports spread about this even conspiracy one, but we'll not go through that. Let me take the discussion to another area. What differentiates terrorism of yesterday, and I mean the last decades, and of nowadays?
So the developments of the machinery of war, you know, the equipment, the thoughts, all these things, you know, had been taken the terrorism from area to another area, to a very developed area. So when you compare between the action taken by the terrorists 30 years ago, putting these explosive device here or there, or bomb cars or something like this. But now we are fighting a very sophisticated weaponry machine, you know, and even the people very well trained, the people working under this phenomena, they are very well trained. For example, you know, the people we are fighting in Sinai, most of them came from Syria, from Iraq, from Afghanistan. So they have experiences in this area. They are very well trained, they are very well motivated, they are well equipped, you know. So this is the difference between the terrorism in the past and terrorism right now. And as you know, we are fighting the terrorism in Egypt alone. Nobody help us. There is no coalition, as in Syria, as in Iraq. We are fighting by our force, you know, and we discovered that those people came from different areas. They are very well trained, they are very well equipped, they're using their equipment in a very efficient way. So it has developed very much than it was before.
Yes. If we speak about terrorism as a threat, why do you think, or how are terrorists being recruited? And we're not speaking about just Arabs. because yes, most of them would be Arabs, but there are even foreign figures that we have seen. And we will never forget the English or the British accent guy who was in Libya and slaughtered our 21 Egyptian. He had a perfect British accent.
Exactly.
How are they being recruited? How do you find, could there be a work of intelligence? How do they get connect?
Yes. I can go even more than this. You know, terrorism has become an illegal business, like the illegal business anywhere, like smuggling, like organ trade, like money washful, like transporting people throughout borders and the seas and oceans. So it has become a dirty business. And all these things had been cooperated and working together. I'll say why. If you keep the area in the Middle East in a big chaos as it is right now, so this is a good atmosphere for all the illegal business to run, you know, and will be active and will be attracting a lot of illegal business to this area. Just keep it in a big chaos. Just keep it unrest, you know. So there is now a marriage between tourism and the, what we call it, the Italian phenomena.
Mafia.
Mafia, exactly, you know. It has become a part of the mafia. They are cooperating, they are financing, you know, they will provided, of course, intelligence agencies working in this area. As I told you, they want this area to be unrested. They want to be in such trouble. Just to Israel to be prevailed, but to be safe, not to be threatened anymore. Okay? Egypt is a big country. It has a lot of potentiality. So it represents a real threat to Israel. Iraq, on the east part, the same thing. Syria. So all the surrounding that just keep weak, keep involving in fighting and exhausting their capabilities and their potentialities. So when you keep this running, so Israel is safe. Okay, this is the major point. And I would say, as I told you before, this phenomena of terrorism in the Middle East has become a part of the illegal business, running by a mafia, providing them with money, with equipment, with everything, to transportation, you know, and all electronic means. You know, they are given to their hand, and they're using these elements efficiently and in a professional way. So there's somebody behind them. You have to collect things.
Exactly. And let me tell you, sir, it's no secret that Mrs. Hillary Clinton has been questioned by the Congress about the latest money that she has given to some of the elements that are outlawed.
Yeah.
And particularly in Egypt. And hence she started to speak about the policy of the United States when she said that they created Taliban and and then Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
And that was in the Cold War in order to be able to really conquer and to have a kind of, I mean here, supreme over Russia. And then she spoke about Daesh. So, okay, that's no secret. It all it was on the internet, on the YouTubes, and we all know about that. Let me have your opinion just to end up this episode with what should the Arab states do?
I think the Arab states now realize that they are in danger, and their safety, their security have been threatened by this phenomena. And they have to wake up. They have to realize they don't have any way but to come together, but to cooperate, but to stand very strongly and very firmly before this phenomena, to stamp out this phenomena from our territory and to restore our safety and security. So this is very important things which we need right now. So I think Egypt working on that, for example, our perception towards Syria is not to encourage any element carrying arms and fighting the state authority. This is not acceptable. This is not a way of opposition. This is a way of criminals.
Definitely.
And we want all the Arabs to realize this, not to accept any opposition to carry arms. That's a very, very dangerous thing to our stability and to our history and to our future. Not to allow that by all means. So we have to come together. We have to create some sort of understanding to a specific strategy to deter these phenomena and to stamp out the deterrent phenomena from our country, and to restore our stability and our safety, and to move forward to rebuild our country.
I guess that will be done only if we realize who is the real enemy, who is before our
That's
eyes.
what I say. We have to realize that we are in danger. If you get things running like this, we are in danger. And to have to realize that your safety and your security in just stamping out this phenomena and to back to the track, because this phenomena is against all the religious, all the fundamentals, and all the human needs.
Yes,
yeah.
Very much indeed. General Hassin Abdelrazak, strategic expert, we thank you very much for your input today in our episode.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And I guess that wraps our episode. Before we go, just let's have a quick look on some of the press headlines and, of course, the major terrorist attacks and how the press tackled them. Many thanks for watching. According to the Middle East News Agency, Egypt Operation Martyrs' Rights reaches decisive stage in ending terrorism in Sinai, the armed forces. The Egyptian armed forces announced that the ongoing military Operation Martyrs' Right has reached a decisive stage in the fight to end terrorism in North and Central Sinai. Forces killed 8 militants, eliminating one of the most dangerous militant stationing points. That is according to an official statement by the Armed Forces spokesman. The Armed Forces spokesman said that the army has destroyed stationing points that were based in Sheikh Zuwaid in North Sinai, where forces found a bomb inside a house that was prepared to target army forces that arrived there. The statement read, "Forces destroyed a factory used to construct impoverished explosives devices and other explosive materials. Forces also killed 3 militants in Al Arish who were based in a house that was also used to manufacture IEDs. Forces eliminated 28 IEDs planted in different target police and army patrols in controlled detonations."